Hey, it's me, ABSD. I am so excited to share with you all today about my first road trip experience in the West. I have never done a solo road trip experience before, and I've never experienced the West before either. So getting to go out and explore and see some really awesome things is what we're going to talk about today. I'm also going to share the things that I wish I knew going into it and the changes I would make going forward so that my road trips are much easier and much more successful. For those of you who don't know me or don't know ABSD Travel, hi, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. ABSD Travel is a full-service travel agency, and we believe that all humans should have the right and freedom and expression to travel. Travel is such a beautiful part of life, and our agency's goal is to help people who don't think that they're able to travel more in their lives. Today, we are talking about my first solo road trip experience in the West. Woof. I wanted to start this story by setting the scene of how this road trip actually came to be. I recently moved to Colorado with my husband and our dog, and when I got here, I got a call from a friend that said, "Hey, we're gonna be in Vegas in 5 days. Do you wanna come join us?" Me thinking, that's impossible. I just moved to Colorado. I can't possibly drive to Vegas. 30 minutes later, deciding, this might actually be possible. I'm gonna look it up and see how far it is and different things that I can stop and do on the way. So that's what I did. I planned a really awesome road trip from Denver to Las Vegas and was planning to stop at multiple locations on the way, and I was going to camp for one night on the way home. So I started my day at 5 a.m. I got up, I got everything packed, and I get in the car and I start heading out. It's about 8:15 in the morning and I'm already exhausted. So I pull off into a hotel parking lot because personally I feel really safe in hotel parking lots. So I decided to shut my eyes for 15-30 minutes to kind of rejuvenate and help me get on the road and just feel better. I am a huge advocate. If you are doing a road trip and you do not feel well enough to drive, just stop. There is no reason to push yourself farther than you need to. Truly, it is not worth the consequences. Just stop, close your eyes for a few minutes, and when you do feel better, hop back on the road. Those 15-30 minutes that you're spending resting is going to benefit you so greatly down the road. So I started my day, and the fun thing about road trips is that there are so many fun scenic pull-offs that you can stop and just look at the beautiful nature and worlds that we live in. Places that you are not planning on seeing, but amazing opportunities to stop. So I stopped in Frisco, Colorado. I stopped on my way into Utah. I stopped at a dinosaur park. I stopped at so many different pull-offs. I stopped on the side of the road just to take a picture of a hot air balloon in the sky. I just thought it was so beautiful, and it just captured my heart in that moment. So my plan for this road trip was to leave Denver and to stop at a couple of national parks or monuments or landmarks along the way. The drive from Denver to Las Vegas, without stopping, is about 12 hours, maybe a little bit more. What I didn't realize as a newbie to my first solo road trip, as a newbie to driving in the West, as a newbie just to solo travel, things take so much longer than you think they do. So much longer. So I was in my car by 6 a.m., driving through the mountains, get into Utah, and I make it to my timed entry slot for Arches National Park. To Arches National Park before, and holy moly, it's so cool. And I'm gonna do a whole separate video on that, so if you wanna learn more about Arches, you can go watch that video. So I stopped at Arches, I spent a couple hours, had an awesome experience. Would highly recommend giving yourself more than just a couple of hours to spend at Arches. But with my time constraint and needing to get to Vegas by a certain time, I decided to spend like 3 hours there. I hop back on the road, and the drive that I had planned for myself was to go through Monument Valley. Monument Valley is this drive through Utah where it just is these huge structures, and it's absolutely stunning. So I checked the time to see how long it's going to take me from where I was to get to Vegas, and it was 6 more hours and 6:30 p.m. Where did the day go? How did that happen? How did things take so much more time than I thought they would? What? So I decided not to go to Horseshoe Bend, and I kind of was really defeated in that moment, feeling like I have 6 more hours of driving. How the hell am I going to do this? And truly, there were moments where I was exhausted, and it was pure adrenaline that was helping me keep going. Learn from my mistakes. You don't need to do that drive all in one day. I promise it makes so much more sense if you were going to Vegas from Denver to take a night and stay somewhere for the night instead of trying to drive it in one day. You're more than welcome to do the 12 hours in one day. It's very possible, just maybe with a little less stopping. So it gets to be about 8 p.m. and I stop for some Subway, bought a homeless man a Subway sub outside. Luckily, there's the time difference. What is really interesting in that drive is you're popping between Utah and Arizona, and they're in 2 different time zones. So the whole last 4 or 5 hours of my drive, I'm popping between 2 different time zones. So I have no idea what time zone I'm in, what time it actually is, how much time I have left. I'm exhausted. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? How am I going to make it to Vegas? I am in over my head. And I decide to stop at another hotel parking lot and take an hour nap. My friends' flights were not getting in until really late into Vegas, and with the timing and gaining an hour, I was going to have time to do that. And even if I didn't have time, I needed it. And remember what I said earlier, if you need to stop and rest, stop and rest. It is not worth your health or safety later on down the line. So after stopping at a hotel, I get back on the road and eat the other half of my Subway sandwich and finally make it to Vegas. Vegas was so awesome. I'll do a whole nother video on Vegas as well. What we did, what I would suggest, and it was my first time in Vegas. I had never been before. I'm not much of a drinker or partier now in my life. If you knew me in my past life, aka college, I was, but I'm just not super interested in that now. So my Vegas trip didn't look like that, which I'm super grateful for because I wouldn't have been able to keep up. Fast forward to a couple days later, and it's time for me to leave Vegas and head back to Denver. My original plan was to, on the way home, to stop at Zion National Park. I wanted to camp there overnight. So my thought was I'll leave Vegas with enough time to get to Zion, to set up my campsite in the daylight and get to explore a little bit. And then on the following day, I will explore Zion and then drive home, which it was about a 10-hour drive from Zion. So was it manageable? Yes, still a really long drive. What I didn't realize, because I've never been to the West before, I've never camped in the West, I haven't really camped in a long time in general, that I was ill-prepared and did not have everything I needed to have in order to have a successful camping trip at Zion. What I also didn't realize, on poor research from myself, was that Zion runs on a shuttle system. And to get really into anywhere in the park, to do hikes or to see a lot of things, you have to take the shuttle, and you park your car at the visitor center or outside of the park. People can shuttle in as well. I didn't know that. So I decided that I set up my camp and decided I was just going to take the scenic drive up the up through Zion because I felt a little uncertain about it and I was just tired. I was also feeling a little homesick. We had just moved to a new state, and less than a week after we moved here, I decided to drive to Vegas. So I was feeling a little homesick, and so I settled in for the night and decided it was time for me to go to bed. I was going to camp. I was going to get in my tent, and I was going to have a happy, merrily night's sleep and be on my merry way the following morning. Now, what I didn't realize was that the West is made out of rock and stone. Florida is not. When you go camping in Florida, when you pitch your tent, you're pitching it on like soft, moist ground. When I pitched my tent and the stakes wouldn't go in, my tent wasn't going anywhere, so I didn't worry about it. But when I came back and was ready to get in my tent to go to bed for the night, I had hotboxed my tent, and it was like 100 degrees in there because of the heat that was just rising out of the ground into my tent and into my blankets and into my yoga mat that was not a good support and did not provide any sort of cushion under me. I don't know what I was thinking when I thought about that. After tossing and turning for about 30-45 minutes, I was so miserable and so uncomfortable. I was hot. I was like, maybe I'll just go sleep in my car. I can't sleep here on the ground. I'm not gonna sleep at all. It's not worth it. And then I decide, if I'm gonna go sleep in my car, I might as well just drive home. Feeling really homesick, and I had decided that in the morning I was just gonna get up and pack and leave anyway. So that's what I did. At 10 p.m., 11 p.m., I got in my car, packed in my tent, threw everything in my car, very unorganized, and drove the 10 hours home. I did stop about 1 a.m. and took an hour nap and made it home by like 10 a.m., which I was super grateful for and felt really good once I got home. My first road trip experience was still awesome. And there were a lot of pieces that I learned and took away that I would change going forward and change next time. One of the biggest things that I'm realizing when road tripping and camping, whether it's camping out of a tent or camping out of your car, is that you need to stay organized and you need to know where things are. Throwing things around and not putting them back is a recipe for disaster, and is going to make things really hard later when you're looking for things or when it's nighttime and you don't know where things are. I also realized something that I really would love to get is some sort of like camping lamp, which seems really obvious, but it wasn't to me, and I don't have one. So the first time I went camping, I did bring a small flashlight, which was great, but having some sort of camping lamp or lantern would be super useful and helpful. My biggest tip and takeaway from my whole first road trip experience in the West is to make a plan, but don't follow it blindly. Having a plan is so important because it gives you an outline of what your day might look like, things that you're interested in doing or seeing or experiencing, and those non-movable must-sees or scenic experiences. Not having a plan, you're setting yourself up to fail. And truly on a road trip, having a plan is super important. I realized that my plan was too ambitious. I had way too much on my plan, and for driving in the West and for the time that I was on and for trying to do it all in one day, it just wasn't possible to do everything that I wanted to do. But that means that I get to go back and experience them all over again in different ways because now I know what I know. So my biggest recommendation is to make a plan, but don't follow it blindly. So I hope you can learn something from my first solo road trip experience in the West and take something away for your road trip experience that you are going to go on. Road tripping is a great way for travel to be accessible for all people. Whether you're going for an hour drive or a 24-hour drive. You get to experience more of our world and more things that are outside of your norms. And that's the fun thing about travel, is experiencing things that we wouldn't necessarily experience in our everyday lives. I am excited to share with you guys my second road trip experience, where I car camp for the first time and boondock for the first time. So if you're interested in that, make sure to go to my channel and check that out. If you liked this video or got something out of it, I would love it if you liked, commented, and subscribed. I would love to hear your road trip experiences and also where I should go next. I think I'm planning on doing a road trip down to Mesa Verde National Park next, maybe explore more of Colorado. If you have any suggestions, I'm always open for suggestions, and I would love to hear your thoughts and things that you wish that you knew about road tripping. What questions do you have? Love you all. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and be awesome. Love is unlimited.